Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's so great to be here once again with my friend and my brother, Steve Amango. Tonight, we'll be speaking on the topic leadership and personal finance. Leadership and personal finance, which is, you could say, leadership and financial discipline. So tonight, we're going to be adding value, and I hope that as many of us tune in, you'll be blessed tonight. Steve is somebody I admire so much. He's been a friend, a brother. We actually attended the same primary school. Wow, Steve is off. I'm sure we'll come back in shortly. But before he comes back in, I'd just like us to prepare to ask as many questions. Yes, he's back on again.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve, you're welcome back. You just went off now, yeah. So
Yeah. Thanks, Goki.
okay.
I think it's a network
Yeah,
issue.
it's a network. Yeah, it does happen, But I'm hoping that tonight we can get as much traction as possible and mileage. So right. So Steve, feel free to share from my page. If you go to my page,
Sorry.
Feel free to share.
Yeah, I'm actually on your.
Okay.
I'm on your page.
Okay.
I'm on your page, but I'm just waiting for the video to come up,
Okay.
so that at least I can share it. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Awesome. Amazing.
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
But we can go ahead.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So I think I'll share the link on your page. On your page.
Okay. Yeah, you can share it on my page. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So Steve, please, can you just introduce yourself? Tell us who is Steve Amango?
Okay. Thanks, Goki. Well, my name is Steve Amango, and I'm from a large family. Even though I'm not from a polygamous home, I'm from a family of 9, and
Wow.
I used to be the second to the last born, but right now I'm the baby of the house. As you're aware, I think 2016, December 5 to be precise, I lost my younger brother.
Okay.
And unfortunately, October 24th, I also lost my eldest sister.
Okay.
And sometime 2010 as well, I lost one of my brothers. So I'm from a family of 9, but right now we're 6 in my family.
So sorry.
And my dad passed away. That was 1999, right? Like you're aware, okay, I went to University of Lagos, graduated from science, Faculty of Science, and I actually studied microbiology. So when I graduated, that was 1992. I actually wanted to travel abroad,
Okay.
but I thank God I didn't take that decision at that time. And I always appreciate my elder ones for giving me the advice to stay behind. And I worked in an audit firm for about 3 years before I started banking in 1997. So it's actually been a very long journey for me. I started banking with Eco International Bank. And like I mentioned earlier, before I started banking, I was in an audit firm. So that actually made me to be very, very disciplined. Because while I was in the audit firm, I actually had two elder brothers. One actually trained with KPMG, Pitmawick. Then they used to call it Pitmawick Ani Ogunde. And then my other brother trained with Pricewaterhouse. So they actually, they were more like my mentor. They guided me. So I was always looking up to them.
Okay.
And like I told you, I went to Eco International Bank.
Okay.
After I left the audit firm, that was where I started my banking career in 1997.
Okay.
Then in 2000, I crossed over to a discount house. I'm sure you remember the 5 discount houses that we used to have then.
Okay.
That was in the early 90s. But I joined 2000, and I worked in one of the discount house, Associated Discount House. I worked there for like 3 years, yeah. Then after which I moved to Fidelity Bank.
Okay.
So I joined Fidelity Bank as an assistant manager. And after 6 months, I was promoted to deputy manager. Then while I was in Fidelity Bank, I was head of currency trading. And after spending about 3 years as well, I moved over to Oceanic Bank. So from Oceanic Bank, I joined EcoBank. I left Oceanic Bank as an AGM, and I joined the EcoBank May 9th, 2009. So for me, it's actually been a very long journey, and I've spent about I joined EcoBank 2011. Yeah, because I've spent about 9 years there now.
Okay.
So whilst I'm in EcoBank, I've actually been exposed to a lot of stuff in terms of financial markets.
Okay.
I was opportune to work in our London office for a while, and right now I'm a deputy general manager. I've also been on secondment to East Africa, where I was regional treasurer for about 2.5 years. And even when I left, I actually got an appreciation, a letter of appreciation from the central bank for my contribution to their financial markets.
Wow.
And it will interest you to know that as we speak, I'm actually still in touch with the Deputy Governor in Central Bank of Kenya, CBK.
Wow.
So for me, and even some of my colleagues in East Africa, I'm still very much in touch with them.
Wow.
So for me, it's been a very long journey. Currently, like I told you, I'm a DGM in the bank.
Okay.
I'm head of the proprietary business and also double act as a group manager trading. As you're aware, ETI is the parent company of EcoBank Nigeria.
Okay.
We have presence in about 36 countries in Africa. So ETI is more like the holdco.
Okay.
Yeah. So I also have a dual responsibility.
Wow.
And so for me, really, the banking profession has been very exciting for me.
Okay.
It's been a very long journey.
Okay.
And I think I give God the glory.
Okay.
I haven't come this far. And I think I need to actually thank God for what I've been able to achieve to date.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. So how did you?
Then I also I'm listening.
Okay. So how did you get into leadership? Because I remember quite well that I was privileged to work with you in Fidelity Bank. That's almost 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
I was in I was in the Ikeja branch. I was in commercial banking, where you were in treasury. But I know you shared your journey. But in terms of leadership, how did you get into leadership? Was it intentional, or you just found yourself, in leadership?
Well, it's not intentional. It's not. I would say it's intentional in the sense that for you to be a leader, you actually need to you need to work towards it. Like we always say in this life, no pain, no gain.
Mm.
You have to make sure that you work very hard if you really want to get to the top. And it's also very good for you to make sure that you have someone who is like a mentor or a role model,
Okay.
so that you can actually model your own activity or whatever you do in that direction. You try and model what you feel your role model does, because that's the only way you can actually say yes, that you have somebody who is up there and you can look up to.
Amazing.
And like I remember when I was in Fidelity Bank, my MD then, Mr. Reginald Iheja, he will always tell us that, look, for you to succeed in life, you must have the 4 Ds. That is, you must have the drive, you must have the desire, you must have the dexterity, and also you must be very, very determined.
Wow.
So, yeah, being a leader, it takes a lot, but you just have to work towards it. It's not actually the fact that maybe you are up there in terms of grade doesn't really make you a leader. Because when you talk about leadership, right, a leader is someone who people actually looks up to. A leader is someone who must have a vision. A leader is someone who must have integrity.
Okay.
A leader is someone who must be able to inspire people, right? So I think for me, that is how I actually got into leadership, because in the banking profession, your integrity is very, very important. You must also have vision of where you're going, and you should be able to always inspire your colleagues. I'm sure a lot of people, I mean, we all know the difference between a boss and a leader. The fact that you're a boss doesn't mean that you're a leader, right? Because a leader inspires, whereas a boss is somebody who just ensure that things get done. It doesn't really, the boss might not necessarily show you how to. The boss will always say, look, I want this, but a leader will say, let's do it like this. You understand? A leader leads, but a boss just gives you instruction.
Yeah.
You understand? So for me, the getting to this leadership position is something that's I was able to achieve through hard work, dedication, determination, dexterity. And like I told you earlier, I actually have role models, people that I look up to.
Wow.
And I also think that as a leader, you also need to be very, very humble. Humility doesn't mean that you're weak, right? It doesn't mean that you're weak. Yeah. Humility just simply means that you actually you can accommodate people, maybe when they air their own opinion, right? So I think a leader also has to be very, very humble. It's something that is very, very important. Yeah. If you are not humble in this life, you even if you get to the top, you may not really last. Because when you're up there, it's lonely at the top there. And it's only when people are able to reach out to you, that's when you actually hear the truth. Yeah. So
Steve,
for me as a leader, you should be able to be reachable. People should be able to reach out to you, and you must be very, very humble. Yeah.
Wow. You are saying this, with a sense of humility as well, because I remember an instance about 18 years ago. I just left the bank, Fidelity Bank. I just left, retired, into entrepreneurship, and I came to the bank.
But not tired.
So I had a proposal, which I brought to the bank then, and you were in the bank, and I think I wanted to print, but I was asked to, make some corrections, and I can never forget that day. You went above and beyond. In fact, you tried to help me print. Your printer was not working. You battled and manipulated and almost an hour. And I kept on looking at you. I mean, why is this young man, not that you are not as young as you're still young now. But then I was wondering, why are you so determined, to help me out, and I went away with a very huge impression of yourself. I thank God that 18 years on, you are still as humble as you were then. But what gives you this, the quality of humility? How were you able to pick up this quality? Yeah.
Okay, well, you see, for me, like I always tell my colleagues, everything in life really has to do with your upbringing. Um, my parents I come from a very humble family. So, and my parents, they always preach humility to us. And for me, that has really shaped my behavior, the way I relate with people, even in the office. I don't look down on anybody because I believe that, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all equal, in the eye of Almighty God. So I don't see any reason why one should be, proud or arrogant or whatever. Humility is is something that I cherish very much. And, like I told you, maybe because of the way I was brought up, I mean, that's just the way I am.
Wow.
I think it has to do with my upbringing. Yeah, it has to do with my upbringing. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Yeah. Now let's do a deep dive into why we're here tonight. Now, what's the relationship between leadership and financial discipline?
Relationship between what?
Leadership and financial discipline.
Leadership and what? Financial
discipline, yeah.
Okay. Leadership and financial discipline.
Yeah.
For me, when you talk about leadership and financial discipline, I think it has a direct correlation. Now, why am I saying this? For you to be financially disciplined, right? You should be able to do what? You should be able to, I'm sure you're familiar with, when we talk about goal setting.
Yeah.
You should be able to set your goals, the way you really want things to work out. Just the same thing as a leader. As a leader, you must have an objective. You must know where you're going, right? And like people always say, if you fail to plan, that means you're planning to fail. So for the relationship between leadership and financial management, is a direct correlation. Most of the things, or most of the qualities of a leader, are things that actually dovetail into financial management. Like I mentioned, discipline is very, very key. If you want to achieve financial freedom, you must be very, very disciplined. Discipline in terms of how you spend, right? You must also have a goal. Then you must be able to set your budgets. The same thing for a leader. If you're a leader, for example, now in the banking industry, when you say someone, like I mentioned earlier, you can be a boss, but not necessarily a leader, right?
Yeah.
All leaders are bosses, but not all bosses are leaders.
Okay.
At least from the perspective of most subordinates.
Yeah.
You understand? So for me, as a leader, of course, you have your goal for the team.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to set your goal. Then in terms of financial management, you must be able to set your goal and you must be disciplined. Then another thing is, there's a saying that people do what you expect, not what you expect.
Yes.
And what gets measured, what gets measured gets done.
Improved, yes.
Right? Now, for financial management, you should have a way of tracking or monitoring your expenses, the way you spend. Yeah, so that you know how to take corrective actions. You will know when you're overspending. But if you don't document all these things, you have issues. The same thing for a leader. Now, when you have a leader should be able to track what the team members are doing. You should be able to track their performance, how well they are doing. Now, anybody who is a laggard, you should be able to call that person, have a discussion with the person. So for me, when you talk about leadership, when you talk about financial management, it actually has a direct correlation. If you are not a good leader, you might have issues with your own financial management, because leadership is all about being disciplined. Leadership is all about having integrity. When it's okay, this is what you want to do, you should be able to do it. Then leadership is all about, setting the tone for your team members, and also in terms of monitoring performance as a leader is something that you also need to be able to do. Then you must be very, very focused. Yeah.
Wow.
So when you talk about financial management, you have to really be very, very focused in terms of what you do. You shouldn't be an impulse, what you call an impulse spender. Yeah, you should be able to know the difference between your need and your wants. Right? Now, elementary economics, we all know that our needs and wants are not the same thing.
Yeah.
So we should know things that are priority. We should know things that, maybe we'll talk about that later. We should know things that when you spend, there's a difference between an expense and an asset. And there's also a difference between a earning assets and a non-earning assets. So those are the things that you really have to look at in terms of financial management, right? You should be able to understand cash flow. You should be able to understand expenses. You should be able to understand what earning and non-earning assets are.
Okay.
Right? If you have 1 billion cash, right, is a non-earning asset. If you have 1 billion cash in your savings account, you earn interest on it, right? But it's the same money. So one is non-earning, the other one is the earning assets, right? So, I mean, those are the things that you really have to understand. So when you're talking about leadership, financial management, it has a direct correlation. I think that's the way I can explain it. I don't know what your own thoughts are.
No, I mean, you are on the spot. I mean, because I feel that if you are not able to manage your finances well, it can expose you to certain challenges. If you are not able to, not just your own finance, but also the finance that has been put in your custody. If you mismanage it, you can lose your leadership very fast. So it requires a lot of discipline. If somebody says this money, you should have it in your custody, and you end up spending that money and misappropriating it, you find that in a lot of clients, not just in the banking sector, but in any field, that kind of leader is likely to lose his leadership. Now, what are some of the ways a leader can improve on financial discipline, on financial management?
What are some of the ways a leader can do what?
Improve on financial management.
Financial management. Yeah. I think like I mentioned earlier, Goke, the only way that you can improve your financial management is for you should be able to, you should be able to set your goals appropriately. You should be able to, you should have a budget, really. You should have a budget, and you should be able to like have what you call a contingency fund account. Contingency in the sense that just in case of an emergency, right? You should have an account where you put a certain amount of money in case of an emergency. Then also in terms of what's it called now? You should be able to know when to pay off maybe debts that are very, very expensive. Then you should be able to save. We all know that, I mean, most of us, we say we pay tithes. So if you're paying tithe to your Almighty, you should also be able to have that discipline to say, okay, every month I should be able to save a certain percentage of my take home pay, maybe 10%.
Yeah.
Right? Then you should also be able to plan towards your retirement. So I think for me, and like I mentioned earlier, you just ensure that you don't spend on impulse. Okay. Then you also need to keep track of what you spend. So if you're able to do some of these things, you actually improve on your financial management. And like I also mentioned earlier, um, you need to document even the things that you spend your money on, so that at least you should be able to reflect and ask yourself whether you've actually made the right spending.
Mm.
Let me just say something. I was talking about cash flow, expenses, and what you call assets, and also liability.
Yeah.
When you talk about cash flow in the sense that what are the things that actually gives you income, right? Then your expenses, those things that you spend your money on and don't necessarily generate revenue for you. Then you should be able to look at those assets, those things that maybe when you spend your money, when you spend, or let me use the word invest. When you invest in those assets, they will be generating revenue for you and be increasing your cash flow.
Okay.
For instance, now I remember those days that you always laugh at me that I always
Stock
put my
market.
money in the equities markets,
Yeah.
the stock market. Okay, I remember very well. When you invest your money in stock markets, maybe you do money markets. You also do things like euro bonds, Nigerian treasury bills, and also the Nigerian FGN bonds. Although the yields are very, very low now.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, every 6 months for the bond, you still get your coupon. And when you invest in those kind of class of assets, your cash flow will actually improve, right? But when you spend on things that will not generate additional revenue to you, it's an issue, right? So you need to be able to identify those things that will give you additional source of revenue, and make sure that you try as much as possible to avoid expenses that are inevitable. So I think for me that's because a lot of people spend on things that they don't really need. People spend on things that, okay, let me give you an example. Even if you should buy a brand new, let's say you buy one now, I can tell you that the moment you are driving that car out of the dealer's showroom or whatever, the moment you drive that car out, the value depreciates almost immediately.
Wow.
If you want to sell that same car in the next, let's say, 3 or 6 months, you will find out that maybe you have probably lost about 30% of the value of that car.
Yeah.
Right? So you need to, for me, those kind of expenses, you don't really need it, right? But if you invest the same amount of money, let's say in real estate, or maybe you put it in maybe fixed income, right? Or something that will generate additional revenue for you, find out that you're actually better off, right? So you need to be able to bifurcate things that are necessary and urgent from things that are necessary but not urgent. And there are some things that you don't really need. You shouldn't be buying things on impulse, or maybe you are spending just to impress people and all that. And if you watch the lifestyle of most of these rich people, you find out that what they actually spend, that maybe some people also want to emulate them and all that. You find out that what they spend is actually like what you call just the leftover of the excess investment they have and all that. So you should be able to know thyself. Yeah, you shouldn't spend on impulse, and you should know things that you should be able to differentiate things that are very, very necessary from those things that are really not necessary for you to spend your money on.
Amazing. Yeah. For those who are just joining us or watching us, or might watch us in the replay, I've been speaking to Steve Amangbo, my dear friend, and he's somebody that I'm just trying to do a recap, and tell the people that, who are joining us, that I've been speaking to Steve Amangbo, and we'll be talking on financial discipline and being a leader.
Sorry, okay, your voice is breaking. Okay. I can't hear you very well. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's a network.
Okay.
Now, what are the consequences of a leader not being financially prudent?
Sorry?
A leader not being financially prudent. What's the consequence?
A leader not being financially prudent. A leader that is not financially prudent, I think, how do I respond to that? For me, that will be a disaster, really. It's not just a leader. I think anybody that is not financially prudent will always have issues, because what that means is that person is not disciplined at all. The person is not disciplined, and so when you are not disciplined, it will be very, very difficult for you to actually make it in life. Let's even set the leadership stuff aside. If you look at most of our maybe sportsmen and maybe some of our guys in the entertainment industry, you'll find out that those ones that have maybe gone bankrupt, even in the US, if you look at some of these people in the entertainment industry, or maybe those in other professions that have gone bankrupt, you find out that the problem they have is actually lack of discipline. So that word discipline is very, 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 very germane. It's very, very key. You just have to. If you're not disciplined, you always run into problems. You run into problems. So I don't know what your own take is. So for me, I think discipline is just the key word. Because the consequences is far reaching. You have issues at the end of the day, even meeting your obligations. Because you must have spent your money on things that are not important. And you must have also spent your money on things that are not generating cash flow for you. I'm sure there was this case of I don't know who the footballer is. There was a case of a Nigerian footballer that people claimed when he was at the top of his career that he bought a private jet or something. I don't know how true that is, but I can tell you that private jet must have cost him a lot of money in terms of even maintaining it and all that. So for me, it's not just about the consequence of a leader not being financially prudent. I think it's something that we all must ensure that we have that, we imbibe that discipline to be
Culture.
able to manage our finance. Yeah, I don't know what your own take is, but that's just the way I see it.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Well, I think you've touched on quite a number of areas, But what I can take away from what you're saying is that we have to be disciplined. We have to have integrity. We also have to have savings. We have to have the culture of budgeting.
Yeah,
Having and set goals for ourselves, and just
yeah,
make it a lifestyle. You've
yeah,
also told us that we should have earning assets. Not just
yeah,
yeah. You have money in savings. Apart from your tithes,
yeah,
and also you
yeah,
can invest in government bonds. You can invest in the mutual
yeah.
funds, and those things would help you um, going forward. Um, Now, as we begin to round up, do you have a few words, even for those who are much younger? Because you find out that
Sorry,
I said, do you have a few words of encouragement for those who are young that might be listening to us, the youth?
sorry, Goke, I can't hear you.
I said, do you have sort of like an advice for the youth?
For who?
The youth, younger people,
Advice for who?
the youth,
Yes, do I have what?
advice, any form of advice for the youth.
Advice for who?
The youth, younger people.
Okay, the younger people. Yeah. Okay. I think my own advice for the younger generation, well, for us, Goke, we are not part of the Sorosuke generation. Our own generation is it's okay, off your mic or whatever. But what I want to say is this: I think for the younger generation, they need to be very, very focused, and they need to understand that in this life, like I said earlier, no pain, no gain. You can't. There's no way you can get crash your way to success, right? Every successful leader has a story to tell. You just have to make sure that you work very hard. You have to be very, very focused. You need to be very, very humble. And also, we all need to be very prayerful, because there's really nothing you do in this life. If you don't have that God's favor, you will never make it. But what I want to say is, that word discipline is very, very important. The youths of nowadays, they need to understand that it's not how far, but it's actually how well. If you say you want to make quick money, you'll be surprised the way that quick money will disappear. And I always believe that. I've been in banking for how many years now? Since 1997. That's about 23 years. I've never faced this banking career. When you make quick money in a very funny manner, you'll be surprised at the end of the day, you will not even have peace of mind. So my own advice is for them to just take things easy. There are so many ways you can achieve financial freedom without doing something that will bring your family name to disrepute and all that. Okay, yeah, Yoruba, that actually speaks to what I'm talking about. The Yorubas will always tell you, you need to know the family you come from. And I'm also aware that our tradition, sorry, I'm not Yoruba, but I love the Yoruba proverbs and their way of life. The Yorubas will never respect you, no matter how much you have, if they know that the source of your wealth is questionable. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I mean that's just my own advice to the youth. I think they need to just take things easy and ensure that they work very hard and be very very focused, and they shouldn't try to make money in a very funny manner. And we know a lot of things that is happening in Lagos. You see a lot of boys, they are into so many funny things. They don't care, they just want to make that money. But I always say to them, I mean, that's not the way to go. At the end of the day, when you die, people will only remember you for the good deeds, for your
Wow, wow. I think the network has been amazing, amazing. Talking to Steve Amangbo, my brother and my friend. We've been talking about financial discipline and being a leader, and he shared quite a number of nuggets. He was just talking to the youth and telling the youth that they need to be very patient, and a good name is better than all the jewels in the world. And is a living example of what it is to be humble, someone who is committed and very passionate about what he does. And tonight has been a beautiful session with my friend and my brother Steve Amangbo. So I want to believe that on this note, it's been nice, engaging, and sharing on leadership and financial discipline. So until next time, I want to say thank you for joining us, and have a very wonderful Sunday evening. Thank you, and God bless.